name. It's not my name.
And you can't or won't pay it back.
I'm going to seize the car in front of the drive, the Ford.
In this series, we meet the people who are losing their homes.
Get out! Get out!
No, don't raise your voice at me.
We never receive any notice.
Their cars.
If I give you the keys,
Yes?
how do I know I'm going to get the car back?
And their possessions. We meet the people who are owed money.
Welcome to hell.
And the people whose job it is to collect it.
If you don't open the door, we'll smash the glass.
Because when you can't pay,
Don't speak to me like I'm some sort of dickhead, because I'll take your head off.
they'll take it away.
There's like different forms of scum in life, but you're just a higher class one.
Take it now.
The number of calls to helplines from tenants struggling with rent arrears increased by 13% in the last 12 months, more than any other debt type. Many fear they won't be able to keep a roof over their heads, according to a new report.
Paul Bohill and Steve Pinner are High Court enforcement officers. Commonly known as sheriffs, they spend their time chasing debts from those who can't pay.
It's supposed to be invited in, not breaking.
We have a warrant that allows us to break in.
And those who won't pay.
If you'd have done as we'd asked, this would have all been totally unnecessary.
Working under the authority of the High Court, they are the officers people turn to when all other avenues have failed. They have the power to seize your possessions to cover your debts and evict you from your home if you've fallen behind with your payments.
Won't be a problem. Most of the people that we meet are in denial. Denial on two fronts. One is that the debt exists, and the second and critical point is that they don't think it will have gone this far.
Paul and Steve are on their way to West London. Their work means meeting people in crisis and facing emotionally challenging cases as they enforce the law. Today's job is one of them.
Do you want a sweetie?
Sorry?
You can have a sweetie.
I can have a sweetie. I'm having a chewy at the moment.
Oh, right. You're so ungrateful.
They have a High Court order to evict a couple who have become sitting tenants.
How far is it? Are we there yet?
No, we're not there yet.
The tenant's lease has run out. They haven't paid their rent in 5 months, and they've ignored all letters and court orders telling them to leave. The two-bedroom flat is in a nice area in Chiswick. The owner's son is waiting for them outside the property. He wants to witness the eviction.
If the landlord is there, you're a target. It makes it contentious.
That's fine.
We're actually once removed from that,
Yep.
so they can batter on about you to us.
Okay.
And it goes over there.
Yeah,
so,
no worries.
But that's only for the first 5 minutes.
Okay.
The landlords are a retired couple who rely on the rental income. They are owed over £10,000.
The flat is actually held by my parents, who are retired, and sadly that's meant that all their pension for the last 4 or 5 months has gone on paying the mortgage on this flat. They've worked all their life, so the last few months they haven't had the money to spend on living that they would have had otherwise. So it's been very bad news in that respect. The block down that end, while the tenants effectively stayed there rent-free and, to my mind, squatted.
The owner's son has also been told that the property is now not in a good condition. There have been complaints about bad smells from the neighbours. Paul and Steve's powers mean they can force their way in and make the tenants homeless immediately.
Hello? We have a writ here to repossess the property. We'd rather you open the door and save the damage of us breaking in.
How long has this been going on?
Since June.
Okay. Was he there?
There's no answer. Nobody. Would you like to open the door, please? Obviously not. That one's locked.
The warrants that we carry are quite powerful. So in other words, if people want to talk through the letterbox, We allow that to happen until we get bored, and then we'll just break the door down.
We'll do our best. We've come to repossess the property, sir. Would you like to open the door so we can talk about it?
Can you just talk us through the door?
Please read it fully.
People become face to face with a debt situation when a High Court enforcement officer knocks on the door. Until that time, they can just dismiss it. They can shred the letters, ignore the telephone calls, or pretend that it doesn't exist.
Well, the best thing for you to do is, if you open the door, we can actually talk to you instead of trying to do this through the door, and we can work our way around the system. If you feel that it's not correct and you'd like to call the police, feel free to do so. Either way, sir, we can enter the property with or without your permission, but we'd rather do it with your permission. Will you open the door, sir? Thank you very much. You understand the position of the writ?
Really?
Huh?
Not really, no.
Right, what happens is, what it says that, you know, owing to the landlord has taken you to court, it's now gone through the High Courts, and now, today, we've come to issue this and repossess the property.
Well, we've nowhere to go.
But this has been going on for some time. I mean, this isn't the first you've heard of it today, is it?
No, we've been trying to find somewhere.
Well, won't the council rehouse you?
You're trying to do it. You're trying to serve it, but you said we're not high priority.
Well,
you are
today.
now. Yeah.
Today you are a high priority because you're now homeless.
You've got a total care in the community issue here. You know, there's notices on all the doors saying, please close the door quietly, keep this door locked at all times, switch off, do this, do that. And the bloke is obviously not 100%. So we've suggested that he ring the council to get the system rolling, and then we'll deal with it.
The tenant's vulnerable condition is a real surprise to everyone. Paul and Steve now face a dilemma. They are worried about the tenants, who currently have nowhere to go. But they also have to carry out the eviction as commanded by the court order. They have to make a decision.
Across the UK, official figures reveal that there were 300,000 mortgages in arrears and almost 34,000 homes repossessed in 2012. This marks a 60% increase since 2006.
Today, Paul and Steve are in Chiswick, West London, on an emotionally challenging case.
Hello?
They have a writ to evict a couple who owe £10,000 in rent. Their lease has run out. They haven't paid their rent in 5 months.
We've come to repossess the property, sir.
And they have ignored all letters and court orders telling them to leave.
Will you open the door, sir?
But they are clearly vulnerable.
Thank you very much.
We've got a total care in the community issue here. So we've suggested that he ring the council to get the system rolling, and then we'll deal with it.
Paul and Steve are legally compelled to carry out the writ.
You can't stay in the flat anymore from tonight.
I understand.
Okay.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Well, that's why we're trying to get you to get in
us.
touch with the council to give you at least temporary accommodation.
Well, how can we get our things together
Yes.
to get out?
Well,
Can we?
okay.
Will we have time? I'm asthmatic. My husband's disabled.
Yes, I
Is
understand.
there anything we can do?
Unfortunately,
Well, where do we go?
well, just listen to me a second.
Sorry, I'm
Well, no, that's okay.
mistake.
No, just relax. What we can do is you get enough stuff together for 2 or 3 days.
And where would they put us, do you think?
No
I mean,
disrespect.
no.
I don't know.
With the tenants about to be homeless, Paul asked the landlord and his solicitor to ring the local council as quickly as possible.
We'll allow them to take enough kit with them today for 48 hours, or, you know, whatever, so that the council can sort them out, or not, as the case may be, and then we'll arrange collectively, you come back, let them back in, to actually arrange for the removal of the goods. If they try to break back in there, it's a criminal offence and they can be arrested. In my view, it's a council responsibility. If they're in need of care, and they, from our opinion so far, they obviously are, these people should be prioritised. But it won't kick up on the priority list until the bailiff's there and evicting them.
While the tenants face an uncertain future, the owner's son is more worried about the state of his parents' flat.
You know, you've seen the state of it as it is in there.
It smells of fish.
Have you been in the lounge yet?
No.
Don't.
Almost 2 hours later, the council has found them temporary accommodation. But the tenants are still in the flat. The owner's son and his solicitor are beginning to lose patience.
Steve, they're taking the piss now.
We'd like to wrap it up. I mean, we're giving them over.
2 hours.
Longer, you know, fair's fair. We all the families go to as well.
Well done, Sean, thank you.
I've been told now that I have to draw this to an end because everything's taken so long.
Very well.
No, we've given them ages. It's 6 o'clock now.
You need to get your stuff together, ready to come out the door.
Yes, we can't really hang about outside in the cold, you see.
Oh, you can always go and sit at McDonald's, it's quite warm.
They're making no attempt now.
You've been very helpful.
What you need to do is you need to get your suitcase, or where they're going to take your clothes in.
We haven't got suitcases. We can't find suitcases, we never had time to get them out.
There are no suitcases. They didn't have time to pack suitcases.
Is that everything?
Yep, that's everything now. OK, that's us done.
Thanks very much.
I'm sorry for the delay and the amount of time it took.
Right, how are we doing?
The tenants have a roof over their heads tonight, but their home is gone. The owner's son is eager to see what's happened to his parents' flat.
Until I go in, because I haven't been in there for months, I really don't know what I'm going to be faced with. This flat, when they took it on, was pristine. Great, so this is what we're left with. Well, just give up, don't you? What a shithole it is now.
It was really clear that the people had a huge problem. They were just like, you know, absolute hoarders, and the flat was 5 feet deep in waste paper, rubbish and collected items.
It's a brand new sofa somewhere under that lot. And the rent arrears is probably around about 10 grand. Then you've got legal fees, so that's probably about another 3,500. And then sadly, because they have left the place in such a bad state, adds up to over double the arrears. So there's another 20-odd thousand pounds. Oh, shit, a brick. I think this is what estate agents would describe as in need of tender, loving care.
And in the bedroom, which was the most shocking of all, there were 2 beds, but there were cardboard box constructions on the bed, and for whatever reason, they actually slept inside the cardboard boxes. So it was really sad.
Well, at least we got it back.
If the last job was challenging, their next job is going to be no easier, but for very different reasons. Today, Paul and Steve are on their way to Romford for a debt of over £3,000. Their High Court powers mean that if the debtor can't pay, they have the authority to seize any possessions and sell them to cover the debt.
You can run point on this one, Steve.
Okay.
The man named on the writ works as a taxi driver.
Hi there. Looking for Mr. Alizadar.
If he can't pay the £3,000, they could take his car away.
Hi there. Sorry to wake you up. Mr. Aliza, Mr. Suki Panazar has taken you to court. Yeah.
What for?
I have no idea what for. I don't get that information. All I know is that there is a warrant outstanding and the amount is £3,253 and 4p, plus a 440...
It's not me. They made a mistake. It's not me. They sent to the court also. That's not me. That's a different person.
Who is it?
If he's my brother, no, I'm not responsible for my brother. You should go and get them, not me.
You're Sharif.
I'm a sheriff, yeah. I'm a sheriff, Alizadar, not Ashraf.
Well,
if you need an ID, I'll bring an ID for you.
OK, but look, you see...
Mr. Alizadar claims that the debt is his brother's, but the writ is made out in his name.
I didn't pay that rent for that house, which is... He wasn't me, he's a different person. If he's my brother...
So where is Mr. whoever it is?
Ask them, not me.
He's your brother?
Yeah, he's my brother.
So you must know where he is.
Yeah, I know. You should find them and go and tell them. Why isn't...
Well, OK, can I just be very simple about this? Just really, really simple. Is this your vehicle?
Yeah, he is.
OK. This is from the courts.
Yeah.
The highest court in the land that empowers me to take your car, unless you can pay this debt.
Paul and Steve have no idea whether he is telling the truth or not. A High Court writ is rarely wrong.
The way to get to the truth is just to keep talking. And all the time you're talking, you're asking the same questions in different ways, but you're looking for an inconsistency in the answer. So it's straightforward interrogation.
I spoke with him. He was my landlord. I was living in this address as well. Before that guy, I was living on that address. And that's why he knows my address. He sent it to me. I showed him why you take it, put it my name to the court.
Where is your brother?
My brother. It's my brother. He's in this country. Go and get him.
Well, we don't need to, because we're going to take the car
away. That's fine. You can take it in my car.
OK, can you give the keys?
Huh?
Give us keys.
I'm not going to give the key. Why should I give the key? If the court or anyone, why we should bring Mr. Suki, tell them, it's not... You got a problem with, not with me, you got it with Ashraf.
Can you get your brother on the phone then?
I'm not going to put him on the phone.
Well, that's OK. We'll just take the car. I'll call a recovery truck.
Call him, they carry me.
Look, listen, there's an easy way of doing it or there's a hard way.
No, it's not the hard way. I'm not responsible for that.
Unless you prove to us that this is not you. Have you got the logbook for that vehicle out there?
Yeah, of course I've got a logbook.
But before Paul calls the tow truck, he rings his office to check out the man's story and whether the writ is correct. And the truth is surprising.
Bye.
They have the wrong man.
Right, he's obviously covering for his brother. His brother is a completely different person. None of this paperwork applies to...
He explained to us that it wasn't him and it was his brother. But if your name is on that writ, you are then liable for what it says.
What we've got here is a total clusterfuck, which is a legal term. All the taxi licences, all of that paperwork shows that this warrant, the name on this warrant, is against this man. But in the meantime, since we've actually come and knocked on the door, we've had an email that says the name on the warrant is wrong.
It's now up to Mr. Alizadar, not the court, to prove his innocence. He's currently legally liable for the debt. But Paul and Steve have a plan to soften the blow.
I'm going to seize that car outside, but leave it with you. I will write paperwork that shows that the sheriff's office now owns the taxi.
Yeah.
Yes? You then carry on using it while I sort the paperwork out. That if the mistake is not as you say it is, but you're a reasonable man, I can come back and take the taxi. Just so long as you understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't produce it when I ask you to, it will be reported as stolen.
Mr. Al-Zadar now has 2 weeks to challenge the writ in court, or risk not just losing the vehicle, but also his livelihood. He has a family and 3 children to support.
There's obviously a mistake, potentially a mistake, but I'm happy with what I've done because I can still come back not smiling if it goes wrong. Yeah. Right, in the meantime, if you want to save all this aggravation, ring your brother and get him to call me.
A report has found that more than 8 million households now have no savings at all. And almost half of the lowest income households are spending more than 25% of their income on debt repayments.
Steve Wood is a Bristol bailiff with over 20 years' experience. His firm specialises in carrying out court orders and repossessions on commercial properties. A busy week can see as many as 50 writs executed.
I'd be inclined to say this is a fictitious name.
I've been assaulted, I've been knifed, things thrown at us, oil, petrol. We've had people swing at us with pickaxes. We have heard it all before, and I'm sure we'll hear it all again.
Good morning, Evelyn Somerset Police. How may I help?
Hi, good morning. My name is Steve Wood. I'm a bailiff based here in Bristol. It's just for information purposes.
Today, Steve is repossessing a small convenience store, a classic corner shop, but the tenant owes over £5,000 in rent.
Yeah. Okay, all right, no worries. Thanks very much for ringing.
Bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.
It's 6:30 in the morning, and Steve wants to get there early before the tenant opens up. The shop lies in the usually peaceful suburb of Clifton. Steve doesn't have the keys, but as long as the tenant is not inside the property, the court order gives them the right to break in. But getting in isn't straightforward. They've discovered there's a steel bar reinforcing the doors. While the locksmith cuts through the steel, the tenant arrives.
Are you with the shop, sir? Yeah. We're bailiffs. We're repossessing it on behalf of the landlord for non-paid rent. How much? Well, that's what you're going to have to discuss with the landlord.
Steve's first task is to get the keys and gain entry before the tenant crosses the threshold.
If you encounter anybody before you get in and that person's inside the premises, you cannot go forward. Whereas if you've got into the premises and you're over that threshold and then somebody turns up afterwards, then you're okay, you're in the premises. So have you got the keys that could let us in? Yeah. All right. Could I have the keys, please, sir? How much is it? Richard.
They're in.
I don't know, it's about 5,500 as far as I'm aware, maybe a bit more, but at the moment we're repossessing it for non-payment of rent. My colleagues repossessed it. All right, we're changing all the locks.
Yeah.
So
you take the stock out now?
No, stock is... You can take the stock out,
yeah.
But I'll give you my business card,
yeah.
And we can arrange for you to take the stock out. Well, you haven't paid your rent, have you?
Steve's writ only allows him to take possession of the property. He's not authorised to seize the stock inside or take payment.
So what can I do with the payment?
Well, you need to talk to the landlord. I would immediately phone the landlord and start to talk to him.
How much is the total?
Well, let me get the warrant. Come in and have a look. We'll have a look. Well, according to this, it's £5,802.46.
So if I pay this amount to whom?
To the landlord.
Then you have to open the...
I can't say yes or no. All I can say is ring the landlord or ring his agent, and if they agree, then we'll let you have the keys back once you've paid the rent arrears and our costs. We're changing the locks,
okay.
Front and back.
Okay.
If you try to gain entry after we've left, it will be a criminal offence. Okay. All right? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Despite being owed over £5,000, the landlord at least has his shop back. But once inside, Steve discovers the situation is even worse. The back of the shop has been converted into living accommodation.
None of this has been authorised. It's all put in illegally, and there's a sort of shower unit in here. It's just disgusting. It really is. We normally find that some of the property's been converted if it's upstairs and completely separate, but actually chopping the shop in half, and he hasn't even, you know, it's just amateurishly done. Chopping the shop in half and just putting a full stud wall in, and then turning it into living accommodation. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, it's going to take thousands to put this right. It's horrible. There was definitely 3, possibly 4 living there. It's sad, but it's not unheard of, and it shouldn't happen in today's age, but it does.
While Steve doesn't know who is living there, the conditions are a real concern.
Just a load of junk. There's a side entrance here, which has been padlocked up. And it's just a load of junk, really. Gee whiz, look at these electrics. How the hell this place hasn't gone up in smoke, God only knows. It wasn't the cleanest of shops that we went into. The fridges were dirty. There wasn't that much stock on the walls, and some of the stuff that was there was out of date. There were rat droppings behind the counter. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing my shopping in there.
Looks like a bit of a mouldy sponge. I'm not sure what the hell that's. It's a pain, though.
Back open at 12, back in 10, back in 3 minutes. So he's obviously.
Has he got one for not back at all?
The shop repairs will cost the landlord thousands of pounds, and the tenant's business has been ruined by the debt.
Do I feel any sympathy for him? Not really. I mean, it sounds a bit harsh, but if he offered to pay the rent this morning, then why hasn't he paid it in the past 2 or 3 months? Why has he messed the landlord around for that length of time? So I think he's brought it on himself.
Today, landlord Mark Talbot has arranged for the tenants to come back and clear their possessions from his retired parents' flat. The tenants had refused to leave and owed £10,000.
Unbelievable.
Although the tenants were vulnerable, Mark has discovered that they were fully aware of their debt and the notices to leave.
They even like to keep track of how much rent they're in arrears on their calendar. And when they got various letters from the lawyers. Oh, look, it's got the county court judgment there in August. Clearly they can't claim they didn't know what was going on. And I'll just try and open that window to get a bit more fresh air in, to let the stench out, if I can. Oh, dear, heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
Finally, the tenants arrive.
Well, we can start getting stuff downstairs, can't you? I mean, I don't mind helping. Yes, of course I will. I just want everything out, don't I? So I would politely suggest that we try and chuck as many clothes into black sacks a bit quick as possible, wouldn't you? And then at least by the time the man in the van comes, we'll have done something for him to put in the bloody van, won't we? Everything in there rubbish, agreed?
Yeah.
You're going to sign to that effect, yeah?
With the tenants and their possessions gone, Mark inspects the flat.
This is brand new carpet, 2.5 years ago. This is because they let absolutely no air into the flat whatsoever during the time they were here. Newly decorated before they came in. On a positive note, it looks somewhat better than it did about 4 hours ago.
Mark and his parents can now start the process of getting the flat refurbished. weeks ago, High Court enforcement officers Paul Bohill and Steve Pinner were in Romford to see taxi driver Mr. Ali Zadar.
Not me, there's a different person.
He had to pay £3,000 or risk losing his car.
My paperwork allows me, under this name, to seize your vehicle.
But it was a case of mistaken identity. The writ should have been in his brother's name, and even though Mr. Ali Zadar is the innocent party, it was up to him to clear his name in court.
Ring your brother and get him to call me.
Now they are returning to Romford. The debt has risen by a further £700, and Mr. Ali Zadar hasn't been to court. So while Paul and Steve know he's the wrong man, the writ commands them to collect on the debt.
The bloke has not made an arrangement to pay yet, so we're going to go back and give him the bad news that we're expecting him to pay. It's £3,915 today. I'm going to lead on it to you. Did the last time you think you're Mr. Nice Guy?
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay, how are you?
Very well, thank you. We still have a problem. We haven't heard from anybody with regards to this. So the situation is now that because your name is on all our paperwork, we are coming to you for this. Because this has come from the High Court, the writ has been done, it's in your name, and
my name.
You're responsible for it as far as the High Court is concerned.
The last thing I want to do, or sorry, we want to do, is to take your car away. Because it's a nuisance to us, it's a nuisance to you, and it might all go wrong. Listen, in real terms, how much money could you get now?
The money, I can get £200-300.
No, we're looking for £2,000 at least.
I can give you £200-300.
With the deadline up and Mr. Ali Zadar unable to pay the debt, Paul is duty-bound to enforce the warrant. The sheriffs have to seize the taxi.
I'm only concerned, this warrant's telling me what to do, and I'm actually going to do what the warrant tells me to do.
That's fine. You want to put the car? Let me bring the key and take my stuff from there.
If I was in this gentleman's shoes, I'd have been on the phone to my brother and asked him, what have you done? What's the situation? Why have you got these people knocking on my door? But he seemed to be reluctant to do that. I don't know why.
It also means that Mr. Ali Zadar will be without his family transport and out of work.
I'm sorry to have to do this.
That's fine, that's fine.
It isn't fine, and I feel just as bad about it, but, you know...
You gave me a chance last time.
I did.
Which is, we thought he's finished.
Yeah.
You're not going to come back.
It's cost £444 for our attendance today to remove it. So it's just cost him another £450, if you like, plus whatever the other costs are on it. So the debt started off at £2,400, it's nigh on £4,000 now. This is where it goes out of control. And the easiest way to resolve this is to get the money. That's the easiest way, and fight about it afterwards, because every day that we've got this car, you're losing your wages. All right, sir. Is there anything?
Tea, coffee, cold drink?
No, sir, we're okay, thank you. We're okay. He's a really nice guy, though. I mean, you take the man's car away and he's living away and he invites you in for coffee. Take care, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If we can get this solved in a few days, we'll bring you back.
I hope it's... Thank you.
All right.
We're going to sort them out tomorrow.
Okay, thanks very much.
Everything easy.
Bye-bye.
I haven't got no car. I lost my job to take my kids to the school in the morning, and also my work.
Now Mr. Ali Zadar has 2 weeks either to pay the money or get the writ changed. If he doesn't, his taxi will be sold. High Court enforcement officers Paul Bohill and Steve Pinner are seeing more and more cases of people on housing benefit who are in rent arrears and in trouble. Today's case is to repossess a house in Harrow.
What I can't believe on these is that the rent arrears just escalate, don't they? How do they allow it to get this far?
According to their writ, the landlord is owed £10,000 by a female tenant.
We don't know anything about it, though, do we?
Nothing at all. Do we need to, though?
Well, no, I suppose
if we
not.
know the whole story, we'll get all emotional about it. We'll be in tears sitting at the side of the road.
Oh, I don't want to do this job.
Well, please don't cry, you'll start me off.
Left all my coins and everything in me. That don't make a lot of noise, does it?
With no answer, their High Court powers enable them to break in.
Hello? Hello?
Clear downstairs?
Nobody downstairs.
Hello?
Nothing?
No. Let's have a look round.
Steve and Paul investigate the house for clues to the tenant's situation. It soon becomes clear that she has a young child.
We've got a photograph on there. We've got a lady who, I guess the nationality. I mean, the name sounds Portuguese, but the photographs there tell her own story. She's got one child who, on that picture, looks to be about 2 or 3 years old. We're then walking along here and we're finding debt collection letters through here, more debt collection letters, different companies, more debt collection letters. Brent's customer services threatening to take back £2,500 in an overpayment of housing benefit. And then in amongst it, we've got a guide to bankruptcy. A woman on her own here, got children, seriously weighed down with the debt problem. If we repossess home, the people we feel sorriest for always are the children of the home. So they might be at school and they're going to come back and find that their home as it existed when they went to school no longer exists. I'm sending a message which says, please call me, Paul Bowhill, Sheriff's Office. We'll insert the word urgent.
We've gained access as commanded and taken back the property. We're now making the property secure and it's now under seizure to us. So nobody can gain access unless we authorise it.
With the landlord now at the property, Paul finds out more about the background to the case.
Yeah, she was in receipt of housing benefit for some time. Were you receiving that? I mean, did the rent just suddenly stop?
Rent just stopped more or less, I don't know the exact date, more or less about 6 months ago.
So how long has she been here?
She's been here about at least 8 months. So the first 2 months, yeah, no problem. Then after she told me she got made redundant. And then from then...
What did she do, do you know?
I think she's some sort of carer. That's what was written initially on her paperwork.
Okay. And how much is the rent?
Rent is £1,500 a month.
After 6 months without paying rent, the landlord felt compelled to evict his tenant.
It was all right up until they were paying rent, and then they started getting a bit not opening doors when I knock on the door, and they can easily tell they're inside because you can see the little kid through the window. That's why I gave them a chance. I don't really want to chuck a little kid out in the street, which is not nice to do, and what's been going on is not really a nice procedure to get a little kid involved, and really, more or less today, they're going to be out in the street. But they've had more than well enough notice and what the procedure would be if they don't pay or don't move. So they've kind of dug their own grave, really.
Paul's writ empowers him not only to evict the tenant, but also to seize and sell any of her possessions in order to repay the debt.
There's obviously not £10,000 worth of removable items in the house.
There's still no reply from the tenant. As the locks have now been changed, and as the tenant doesn't know yet that she's been evicted, Paul and Steve are concerned.
Now, we like to wrap it up. Now, we are mindful of the fact that she is potentially a single mother with a child, so we don't want to dispossess them on a cold night like this if there are other things that we can do.
Finally, the tenant rings.
Hello, Paula. Is that Paula?
Yeah.
Paula, I'm a sheriff's officer. We've repossessed your house. Do you understand that?
No. I'm from my house now, but I'm from my husband late.
So,
It's expected to come tomorrow because I'm in my house tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but you missed the point. You cannot get back into your house because it's been repossessed. Because it's been taken over by order of the court.
No, where's the letters?
Well, no, I'm sorry.
Where's the postman or something like that? Is it possible? I have a child.
No, I agree with you. That's why I'm trying to make it easy.
No. Is it possible?
Well, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do about it.
What you're doing is impossible. It's impossible.
How is it impossible?
It's impossible.
Why? Hello?
It's getting late. Paul and Steve are worried about where the tenant and her young son will spend the night.
If children are involved in a repossession, we immediately go into a completely different mode to contact the council, because where children are involved, the council have a duty of care to provide emergency accommodation.
2 hours later, the tenant finally returns. She has left her young son in the care of relatives.
Oh, I lost my job. The child need too much money because he's eating, he's need dress, everything. Now my expense for money all weeks is £45. I feel sick, I feel bad. Because I love my child. All days I have different letters for bills. It's difficult. Sorry.
As Paula has left her son with relatives, she isn't eligible for emergency council accommodation.
It's a huge, huge problem, this is. You know, £1,500 a month rent, where do people find that? The housing benefit system has now been capped, but we're at the sharp end, and the reality is that we do feel for it, because we're the people who see it.
Now I come to my mom's house, but it's 1 bedroom and 1 living room. My sister in my house she come to visit me. Now we sleep 7 people in 1 house.
With Paula homeless and without transport, the sheriffs decide to drive Paula and her sister to her mother's house.
She's good to go now, so we've done the best we can. Bear in mind, we've now been here for like nearly 11 hours.
While one family with a debt problem try and start again, there's some good news for Mr. Alizadar. 1 week ago, he watched powerless as Paul and Steve repossessed his taxi.
Bye-bye.
The taxi was taken to cover a £3,000 debt that Mr. Alizadar maintained was never his. With court costs, the debt grew to nearly £4,000.
Yeah, it was very hard on that time. My taxi was everything for me and for my family, because we survived with that. I was out of job, no work, I earned nothing. Also, we have to pay for the solicitor as well. It was all the pressure, it came at the same time. It was very hard.
But after going to a solicitor to get the writ against him cancelled, the sheriffs have now returned his taxi. Next time, Paul is shocked by conditions at a family home